I've heard it put beautifully that everyone in support of abortion is currently alive. Hi, my name is Ollie Schwag, and this is 10 Points to Ponder, where we like to talk about all the things that get you canceled. Race, politics, Jesus, and manhood. It's been a while since I've done a video, because although issues have come and gone and definitely were video worthy, I've just been really busy. When I think about what's happened with Musk and the takeover of Twitter, when I think about what's gone on overall politically, the doxing of the libs of TikTok, Twitter feed that was so effective in showing what's going on with the grooming of our kids, even issues of grooming of our kids, and maybe I'll step back and talk about those issues. But today I definitely feel like I need to do a video talking about the issue of abortion, breaking it down in terms of our favorite topics: race, politics, Jesus, and manhood. So for those of you who don't know, recently a draft opinion by the Supreme Court that was written, I guess, back in February by Justice Alito was circulated. It was leaked to Politico, and this draft opinion seemed to indicate that there was majority support for the ending of Roe versus Wade, which was the badly adjudicated law that basically said that a woman's right to privacy extended to her ability also to kill her unborn child, and that no one, the state couldn't restrict it, because as the state can't take away your right to privacy, the state can't take away your right to kill another person, with the caveat that that person is in the womb. So badly legislated, makes no sense, evil at its core, especially as science is getting more sophisticated, and we're seeing what goes on, what processes are being done when God is knitting together the baby in the womb, when we're seeing ultrasound technology show that there's beating hearts and there's brain activity and there's pain being experienced by these separate entities, that although they are dependent on the mom, just like any kid under the age of probably 25, they're dependent on their children, on their parents. We decided, or the Supreme Court decided, in a very evil ruling, that they would make abortion the law of the land. In the past, before Roe v. Wade, abortion was decided state by state. And if you wanted to live in a state that had a culture of death, then go ahead and live in New York and live in San Francisco and enjoy your abortion, your elective abortion, up until the 9th month. But for those who are living in other places, they wanted to have laws on the books stating that you could not have an abortion except under specific circumstances. So, with that backdrop, let's talk about how race factors into the removal, the ending of Roe v. Wade, which the opinion hasn't yet come out, but we're hoping that it does come out rather soon, especially because of the leak. So, one of the things that you'll notice when you look at the black population in the United States is that, yes, we're located, and many black people are located in urban areas, coastal cities, but you've got a lot of black people who are also living in the South. Because of Roe v. Wade, there was unlimited access to abortion for blacks that were living in the South, in states that, if not for Roe v. Wade, would have restricted abortion. And what has happened over the years is that overall 60 million babies have been killed due to basically a culture that says that abortion is tantamount to birth control. And the large majority of those children, it's like half and half. Given the population totals, you see that that's astronomical, given that blacks are only 13% of the population. But given the population totals, essentially half of all abortions have been abortions of black babies. This has been the greatest civil rights struggle since the end of the civil rights era with Martin Luther King. They have killed so many black babies, and we wonder why all these white liberals are crying and screaming in the streets, because ultimately they want the ability to kill more and more black babies. They believe with Margaret Sanger that black people are feeble-minded and thus should not be allowed to exist because they believe in this eugenics mindset. And so when you see someone crying in the streets and saying, oh, they're taking away our rights to abortion, know that it's not that person who's going to be the one getting the abortion. They're fighting for the right to kill more black babies, and that's how I see it. Let's talk about politics. The politics of the leak itself. All of us were under the impression that this would be a huge red wave, that all the Republican politicians would be able to overcome what's happened over the last couple of years, and that we would get more Republicans in the House and the Senate. The whole purpose of the leak is to try to galvanize the base, the Democratic base, given the fact that Biden is failing, given the fact that inflation is soaring, given the fact that all of these policies that they say are pie in the sky, now he's wanting to give free tuition reimbursement, just take away all the student loans for people that chose to take out those loans. So all of these policies are failing, and all of these policies are hated, and Biden's approval rating is, I believe, below 40%. And so he stands to be killed. The Democrats stand to be killed during the midterms. And so what better way to galvanize the base than to leak this opinion that Roe v. Wade is going to be overturned? And I think in many ways the person that leaked it needs to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. When they find out who it was, to the left, they'll be considered a hero. But it's also quite interesting that now we seem to live increasingly in a day where, especially for the left, the ends justify the means. So look at the summer of violence in 2020. Look at the summer in which looting and burning and violence in the streets was permitted by leftists in the midst of a pandemic, which people were getting the finger wave not to be out. But if you're out committing violence in the name of Joe Biden, that's okay. And so we live in a culture where, for the left, the ends are now justifying the means. They can do whatever it is that they want. And all of these ends are not consistent except in the fact that they are consistently evil. So you've got pandemic and COVID lockdowns for a disease that the majority of the population would be okay with. Those are justified. And yet you have people rioting in the streets, which is inconsistent with COVID lockdowns. And yet that's justified because they are both consistently evil and wrong. And so here, again, we have an election that we know that at least you could say information was suppressed that should have been allowed to be viewed by the public. At least you can say that under the cover of the pandemic, laws were changed that didn't need to be changed and were done under cover of secrecy because no one could come to the city council meeting or the state legislature and plead their case because, we're doing it all over Zoom, so people are having secret meetings. You have all of these things that are going on that shows that the left is losing its grip even on civility, on the ability to debate these issues, on the ability to hear a counter argument and maybe agree to disagree. They don't want to agree to disagree. That's why in the midst of the pandemic, I used to be able to, I get my news from Yahoo, so I'd listen to the Yahoo news feed, and I would then look at every article and look at the comments in the Yahoo newsfeed. And guess what? In the comments to all of these leftist articles stoking fires of racial hatred, telling us that we need to be afraid for our lives because of the pandemic, in the comments of these news articles, you would have tons of people that would say, no, that's not the case. No, that's not true. I disagree with this sentence. I don't think that this is an article that should have even been published. I think this is more opinion than news. And so what did Yahoo do? They decided that in order to create a safe and engaging environment, they would just remove all comments. That's exactly what Twitter did. And so now you have these people fueling themselves because they think that everyone agrees with their opinion. And they're getting more powerful. They're going out and calling your company because you might have had a disagreement with a leftist point and saying, how can you have this bigoted, this narrow-minded person working for you? Why don't you fire them? And then corporate interests, because they just want to make the almighty dollar, are falling in line with every leftist and woke slogan. Look at the NFL, look what happened with the NBA, and then look at these big companies that got rid of people. And so there is a bent now in our politics towards the ends justifying the means, and people doing whatever it is that they think that they want to, despite the fact that it breaks all sorts of norms, despite the fact that it's dishonorable. They don't care about honor anymore. They just care about their evil results, and that's what's happened to our politics. And then, of course, how could we talk about abortion and not talk about Jesus and God's heart? Ultimately, we would want all abortions to end abortion now. We've got a lot of so-called Christians, so-called pastors like Raphael Warnock, right, who's a pro-choice pastor, which makes absolutely no sense, that are going out and have, especially over the election year, tried to pin Christians down and try to obscure what are primary issues and foundational issues, right? The issue of life and the culture that we want to live in. The issues of things that are an abomination to God. They've tried to obscure those things by saying great and lofty slogans like, I believe in life from the womb to the tomb, which is to try to diminish the importance of abortion, and saying that we should also, and we should be more so, in favor of social welfare, in favor of giving people more stuff so that they feel comfortable with having babies. We should be more comfortable with the government replacing the husband and the father of the child, is essentially what these leftist pastors masquerading as Christians go around saying. And what we've got right now is finally the Supreme Court saying what's right and doing what's right after 50 years, which is ending this blight on our culture. If you look at ancient culture and you look at what causes their demise, you look at China right now and what's causing their demise. Part of it is because they're killing their babies. It's as simple as that. You look at demographics, you look at why the U.S. population is changing demographically, and we've got obviously an influx of people coming into the country illegally. But the other part of it, why blacks are losing more and more political power, and crying more and more about it, and depending more and more on white liberals, is because the Hispanic people aren't killing their babies. They're allowing their babies to live and thrive and work and be all that they can be in the greatest country on earth. Whereas black people are killing their babies. It, I know, hurts God's heart. As hurt as many Christians are, I know that this hurts God's heart more than anything else. When you look also at history, when you're talking about biblical history, I mean, the Romans used to kill their babies. They would actually have them born, and then the father had the right to either accept or reject this child, and if he rejected the child, they just leave it out and let it die by exposure. This is essentially what we're doing as a culture. You look in ancient pagan worship and practices. I love I think it was Babylon Bee that talked about the abortion protesters as people essentially crying out to their god Moloch to help them, to no avail. And one of the things about the god Moloch, and I hope I have it correct, is that Moloch was an iron statue with arms outstretched. And the way that you would sacrifice to Moloch was that it would be, this iron statue would be heated to a very, very high temperature, burning temperature, singeing temperature. And people would bring their babies and place the baby in those burning iron arms of Moloch as a means of worship. And no different than what we're doing here as a society. We are worshiping selfishness. We're worshiping choice, even up to the choice of killing others. We're worshiping women, frankly. This is, and it leads me to my next point, which is manhood. Men need to stand up. Why? Why should you stand up if this is a woman's issue? Because you're born. Because you're born. Many of us wouldn't be here except that our mothers rejected the advice of others to have an abortion. I know this personally. I am an example of this. We wouldn't be here. And so what does a man do except he stands up for the weak and he protects the innocent? And there's none more weak or innocent than the unborn child. I can't also understate the lies that have gone on to keep abortion ongoing. Specifically, one of those lies that's even been disproven by science, that they call this baby just a clump of cells, and so they're lying to these young girls. And this is why I would highlight the work of ministries that simply will show the mother an ultrasound of what their baby actually looks like, that their baby has a beating heart, that their baby is moving, that their baby is a human being. We've allowed our medical establishment, the evil medical establishment, the abortionists, to lie to our daughters and lie to these women. And then we've got many women who simply don't care because they want equality 100% with men, to have the exact same consequence as men and no more. And yet they deny the fact that there's a difference between men and women. And so now you've got all these women stating that abortion is a woman's issue, and they're not talking about trans women. They're talking about women. Now, all of a sudden, the trans issue and the issue of how I identify seems to take a back seat. Because now, all of these women have been told that their only purpose, their only political power, is the power to have an abortion. There's so much more I want to say about this, but I'm pulling in to work. I hope that you guys have a blessed day. Let's talk about it. Let me know your thoughts. Please like, comment, subscribe, share this video. My name's Ali Shuaga. This has been 10 Points to Ponder.